Ding 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 ding.
Fubble time.
Hi there. I am Teresa Tomey.
And I am Patrick Ziegler.
And we are
Fubble Entertainment.
FubbleEntertainment.com. And this is
Fubble time.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. I still chuckle that it took us months to come up with that.
And we are doing it right for the new year. This is our first broadcast for 2022.
That's crazy.
And I know. Happy Dirty New Year.
Happy Dirty New Year. I know. I said that. I think it's so hard for me to not say that. Patrick has a story. We won't get into the Dirty New Year story, but that was an old neighbor of Patrick's. But yeah, it's hard for me to not say that. But we are so thrilled to start. We're doing it again. We started it in the pandemic.
I know.
In March of 2020 or April of 2020.
April. I think April we started.
And here we are. We're still doing it. It's still pandemic-y, and we're still doing it.
Oh, and who's here? I see people are joining. Let's see who's here.
Up. So while Patrick is going to post that, and you can do it without your glasses, I'm impressed.
I can.
Good for you. Well, I cannot read this bio, and we're going to jump in because we are so excited about our conversation.
Kevin's here.
That we're going to have. Oh, yay, Kevin. Oh, Kevin.
I'm here noodling, doodling.
Oh, good. So he read somebody's bio. That's great.
Well, I added
Noodle and Doodle.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Okay.
And come on over, of course.
Oh, of course. Well, let me share with you who's joining us today. Nathan Schram. He's currently Director of Development at Nickelodeon Animation with a focus on sourcing and developing major franchises for both Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus. We're going to talk about one of his new projects today. Yay. In addition to his duties in development, he is also current series executive in charge of production on both Big Night, woo woo, and Max and the MidKnights. With over 12 years of experience in children's and family content, he was previously at Saban Brands, where he shepherded projects including the development of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie at Lionsgate, the Power Rangers TV series franchise, Digimon Fusion, Luna, Petunia, Glitter Force franchise, and oversaw new Asian studio partnerships before the company's sale to Hasbro in 2018. That's why I wrote Wonderkind. This is all happening for him right out of Columbia. He is a graduate of Columbia College Chicago with honors in film production and a concentration in producing. We're going to talk about all of his creative endeavors. So please join us in welcoming Nathan Schram.
Hello.
Nathan.
Sam Molnar is here. Yay.
Yes.
Hey. Oh my goodness. Hi, Sam.
And Denise Gunn is here. Thank you, Denise Alicia Gunn, for joining us. Kevin, it's so great to have you here, noodling and doodling. That's kind of a thing, though, because Kevin is a stitcher.
Oh.
And Emil is here from cloudy LA.
Hey, they represent. I'm here too in LA.
That's right. Nate,
was Sam on come on over as well as Noodle and Doodle?
And Noodle and Doodle, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to finally be here.
It's so great. I'm so glad it worked out, and kicking off 2022 for us, which is so exciting. And we've got quite a history with you. So like 10 years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. At least 10 years.
Something I was going to say at least 10 years.
More than that. Holy
cow.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, because we knew Nathan in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't in high school. Back when we were old enough to be your parents.
Yeah, we were all in high school
anymore.
Good drink. I remember you guys would go to like Butch's after like crew things, and I'd be like, well, I can't go with them because I'm not old enough. And then I remember when I could go with you, and I was like, aha, I made it. Here I am.
Oh my gosh. It doesn't seem possible that you were not, legal when you were working with us, but that's right, because you kind of started out as an internship, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get to that.
I know, I'm jumping ahead. I knew she was going to say that. So let's ask our first question that we quite often ask all of our guests, and just when, where, how did you first remember getting bitten by the entertainment bug?
I mean, I always knew I wanted to be in entertainment. I was like that kid who was like, I want to be an actor, and like in West Michigan, where it's like, I got these big Hollywood dreams. I want to be the actor and have all the attention on me. And like, like most kids, where it's like, I want to be a veterinarian. I want to go and be a doctor on it. And like, and maybe that will change as you get older. That was one of those things that like stuck with me, where it's like, it started as an actor and wanting to be like that, like, that celebrity, that like big drama movie. And then just like being as close as I could in researching, it was like, oh, I really enjoy kind of like this, like producing and kind of having that, like that creative overview of the project, and the reality of like acting not going to so much work out, where it was easy to be like, oh, okay, let's get into to being that more of the creative exec, that producer side. So at a young age, I mean, I was, I think, probably 7, 8, 9, and was like, yep, I want to be an actor, and did it. What was offered in Holland, Michigan, where I grew up, doing every church drama that you needed to complement a sermon, to doing high school theater. Did like every single show that Holland Christian High School put on when I was in high school. So.
And your dad is a physician.
He is.
Speaking of the role of the doctor, was he ever like, well, Nate, maybe you'll want to be a doctor?
Yeah.
Or was he supportive?
No, I mean, for my parents, extremely supportive, but it's interesting on how I think a parent, especially growing up in an area where entertainment is not the standard, does support your child. They want to make sure that we're successful and that we're covered. And I remember, even from like, I'm going to go and major in film, it was like, what are you going to do with a film degree? It's like,
right.
That's what I want to do. And it's like, don't you want to get a communications degree? Because then you can work anywhere doing anything, but you still can kind of do film. And it's like, no, I mean, like, I want to do a film degree and holding on to that. So once I made my position of like, this is what I want to do, they've been very supportive of it. But getting there was that sense of like, this is brand new to us. We don't really know how to handle, a
creative.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my father said to me, and that's exactly what I did. I was a theater major and an organizational communications major, which actually, having that experience did help me with producing, because you're managing people and from the different levels. We have a really great guy here, Raven, who says the same kind of thing as you do, and he says very relatable. Raven, we found him on the TikTok, as I call it, and we found out that he lives in West Michigan, and so crazy, and he was one of our guests. So
nice big following. He's very fun, very very fun on the TikTok. Well, that's great. So you did it in high school, you did theater and stuff like that, but you were making it known. But before you even went off, I mean, of course, this is the chapter we have to talk about. Hi, Raven. What we have to talk about is what was it like working with Teresa and Patrick? But seriously, what made you, like, how did you find work doing what you wanted to do in West Michigan? I mean,
yeah,
crazy.
That's what I was just going to say before you do. It's like, oh my gosh, what a time to be there, because of the film incentives, and you worked with Waterfront and that whole
with Dupree and Scott Brooks.
Come on,
I know. So it's like you said, like a blink in like time for West Michigan to like have like entertainment like show up on its doorstep and be like, we're here to make some big movies and TV shows, and we're gonna be gone tomorrow, so jump on if you want to be a part of it, and if you don't, then we'll see you, then move to LA. So for me, I mean, God bless nepotism in terms of I remember my parents, again, very supportive of me getting in the industry. My mom's good friend, Stacy Campice, was good friends with Joel Tanis, and came over one day and was like, Nathan, what are you going to go, what are you doing next year for college? Columbia, film degree. And she's like, are you working on Come On Over? I'm like, what's Come On Over? And I was like, you don't know what Come On Over is? It's filmed at Hope College. You need to work on it. I'll call Joel. And I think Joel probably called you, Patrick, or Teresa, and was like, you should interview Nathan. And I remember having that like phone call interview, Patrick, with you. and just like me being like, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm passionate and I'm excited and I want to be a part of it in any way I can. And then, you know, being like, yep, you're hired as a set PA. And I worked with John Dupree. Is that his name? Who
Yeah.
like we were in Rapids, like loading sets and dropping it off with Martha Miller then Adam Mellema was like, I need one of you to work in the office with me. And I was like, I can do that. Probably because I was like,
get me away from
all these sets. And so, yeah, then like being in the production office and I mean, working with you guys, working with the whole crew, what an incredible experience. I mean, I often talk about this and this is really what solidified my excitement and joy working in children's content and specifically animation. It's like, you know, this was a 3-camera setup series, 22-minute musical numbers, animation, live puppets. I mean, it had everything that really encompasses like what is magical about a children's show. And every single element that we created, there was that reason of trying to inspire the young kid who was watching it and trying to make that young kid like one entertained, but like feeling something. We all remember the kid shows we grew up on and
right.
Shaped us. It was like, we can be a part of that here. And we have literally every element to do it with. And so that was kind of that sense of like, of my career. And when I went after that, I mean, Noodle and Doodle and What's Wrong with Virginia, which were all West Michigan, but then going to LA and then working for TMZ, and being like totally different. This is a completely
oh, Come On Over was just like TMZ, right?
Exactly. And then also was like, no, what I had and what I was creating before was really special. And then it was like searching and finding. It's like, how can I find that back? Which I eventually did.
That's an interesting thing because I do feel like, and I'm grateful that we created a set with, you know, Joel that was very empowering and collaborative and positive, because I'll never forget when Greg Jabara and Vicki Lewis came in and Vicki got done doing a number and everybody applauded and she was like, what? and Greg was like, just like LA, right? You know, so I love that we had that energy and that you experienced that is amazing, because then that's kind of a standard that getting into the positions that you're in, you can create that energy as well.
I'm gonna jump in. Raven, who's with us here, we just talked about, also went to Columbia. Yes, we chatted with him about that. But he has asking a question, and I know we're gonna talk about this, but let's just jump into it now because the question is here. Because you also just brought up, like, as we were watching kids shows, like, what influences from shows you watch as a kid do you carry in your current projects? Like, how would you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, like, when I automatically think of like childhood television shows that like were like, you know, shaped me in a way. Like there was Rocket Power, which yay, Klasky Chupo at Nickelodeon, which where I'm at right now, and like literally doing everything I can to be like, we have to bring this back. But, you know, that was like this, like, you know, as a young kid in West Michigan who, you know, we had seasons, we had, you know, like that, like 3 months of summer, but everything else from that was like completely a non-Southern California vibe. And I remember like that right there, I was like, okay, friendship, this like the sense of like a never ending, you know, summer day where like you're out exploring, you're out having fun, you're supporting each other, you're dealing with real life adventures and scenarios, and how do you come together as a group and problem solve, and you have that adult like that like figure to kind of like go to, and like their dad, and being like, hey, here's the issue. And there was like an innocence and a love that was like, okay, I really resonate with this. I also loved, I'm not to keep throwing Nickelodeon properties, but clearly I'm not the right studio for what I'm doing, but Wild Thornberries, in that sense of like adventure and fun and going out and exploring and talking to animals, and I don't know, there was like that sense of just like that magical like escapism, and then you know, like for live action, like a Lizzie Mcguire, like totally was one of those things where it's like, okay, you can feel vulnerable, you can feel that angst you have inside, those raw emotions, they're relatable. Other people are having it, or at least Hollywood is making you feel like it's relatable. And so I just knew that there's a power in creating content and that type of energy that you're giving to a kid to feel seen, feel accepted, which, you know, less so than as of now, diversity and inclusion is a major mandate, thank God, for I think every studio, but specifically Nickelodeon, and making sure that if you're watching television, you're being seen, whether it's race, sexual orientation, sexual identity, wherever you live in the world, what your family dynamic is. We're doing everything we can to make sure those same stories from like a Rocket Power, Thornberrys, are actually now seen with characters that reflect everyone. So
that's so wonderful. I mean, Mark and I are watching the morning show right now on Apple, and we're in season 2. And you can really see them dealing with the issues, you know, that TV is dealing with, of more diversity and where they haven't been. And it's really interesting to watch them dealing with those topics and seeing projects like what you're doing it, you know, and not making it a big thing. It's just what is. And I think that's so great.
You're getting a shout out from Denise Gunn, who loves your answer. And Raven says that you, even as an adult, you can relate to Lizzie McGuire.
Yes, absolutely. When they canceled that reboot, I was like, oh, that is a burn. Like, we needed it. No.
So what, you know, you did come on over, then you went to Columbia, and then from there you went to LA and worked with Saban. Just kind of,
you went to TMZ, then to
TMZ, but you're missing some things. It was like Columbia, coming back in the summers. There was Noodle and Doodle. There was Virginia. But yes, I'm sure that that your heart of your questions is in LA. So,
but for somebody that is, you know, interested in going into not necessarily even children's television, but was that kind of your plan, that you did want to work in children's television? And what was the process of going from place to place to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I honestly, it wasn't my decision to do children's content until at TMZ. And I don't even know if it was children's content when leaving TMZ and going to Saban, but it was definitely not that type of content. And in terms of like, I helped launch TMZ Live, which is, you know, it was a production, it was a show, but it was very much a newsroom, and it was very much a like, let's talk about the people who are making Hollywood, who are a part of this, like, this world, this entertainment that I wanted to get into, and more about like car accidents, court appearances, divorces, and it was like, this is so cheap, it's so horrible, and though entertaining, when you're not working there, you felt less about yourself. There were so many times in LA where people would be like, what do you do for a living? And I know they're in the industry, and it's like, I don't want to say I work for TMZ, because then they're not going to, you know, treat me the same way. It's almost like they're going to be like, I don't want to tell you the stuff that I know, because it might get leaked if I'm working on a production or what it is, what I have you.
Right, right.
But leaving TMZ and being like, okay, definitely not newsroom content, going to Saban, which encompassed like all family. I mean, we had the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger movie, but we also then just did a lot of children and family content. And I was like, that like breath of fresh air, that excitement, that sense of like, this is why, you know, I had that joy when I did it back in Michigan. It's that family content. It's that thing. So I think when I moved out here, it probably was like anything entertainment. Like, I just want to get in. But then like quickly found like, okay, I find so much joy. I find so much happiness doing specifically kids and family content.
And do you feel like your journey has been, because in your little poster thing, I wrote Creative Wonderkind, and I was like, I think that in some ways it feels like you have had a very steady moving career in a positive direction. Do you feel that? Do you feel, and if so, why do you think that you've had that?
I mean, I'm competitive and have like a drive where it's like a sense of like, I want to keep like going and a sense proving myself. But like, I don't know, it's easy when you enjoy it. Like, you don't feel like you're stagnant at all. You're just like, when you are chasing the project and you're trying to bring something in, and it's not like just to like make your team proud, but it's like fulfill that, like that reason why you're here. It's easy to not slow down. It's easy to really just being like, okay, what's next? What's going on? We're having so much fun on each of these different productions and doing multiple productions at one time. I mean, that's the best thing about being an executive. You know, you're basically a producer and working on 6 projects at once that can be in current series or anywhere in development. Rather than, you know, someone who's just like, okay, here we're going to set, we're working on this one thing. And it's like, you go home and you're like, I'm burnt from this one thing. You're kind of overseeing and touching every element of each show. And that's exciting. Like that's, and it's like, I just like, you know, you kind of want more and more and more. It's a healthy drug to have in Los Angeles.
Yeah, especially if you're excited about what you're doing. And that's really important. So from going from the different levels, how did you get to Nickelodeon? You started in a different position when you first got there. Is that, am I correct on that?
Yeah.
And
yes.
so what was that process of, because truthfully, I kind of remember you getting the interview and dealing with the interview and how many interviews you had to go through. So just, can you talk at all a little bit about, for people that are like, how do you get to even in the door there?
It's like how you break into the industry. I mean, like I get that question a lot with people. I do generals all the time because when I was trying to get into the industry and meeting with people, it's like if you're lucky, 25% success rate of people responding back, being like, yeah, I'll meet with you for 20 minutes and give you my insight. So I was like, when I become a person where anyone wants to have a general with me, I will always say yes and take it.
You just said yes to one of mine.
I did, Gwen, and we had a good conversation.
Oh, good.
She asked this question. It's the one thing I say when people are like, how do I interview? How do I get in? And the easy answer is, I mean, someone who interviews a lot of people to join our team, there's one thing that I believe sets you apart, and that is that hunger and that excitement of knowing the industry, but being able to speak to it. When you're watching television, I'm like, if you want to be in animation, watch every animated show, not just for the network that you want to interview for, but all of them, because creators are everywhere on every network. But watch with your phone and have IMDb and watch and who wrote that episode, who are the directors of that episode, who's a storyboard artist of that episode, and then write it down. Have that list of names, and then go find them on Instagram or find their portfolio. If you just Google their name, you're going to find their portfolio, but like research them, collect that data and know. So when you're going to that interview with someone who is an executive and saying, we need someone in here who is excited about this world, who knows this world, even if you are coming in at an assistant level or a coordinator level, if you're able to speak to like why you love Rebecca Sugar and Steven Universe and Alonso Ramos, who was one of her directors, and why specifically their episodes resonated with you, as an executive looking for someone to fill that spot, it's like they know their stuff and like they're proving their love for it. When I ask that question, some people are like, they pause and they're like, it's like, who do you want to work with? A creative you want to work with? That's usually how I ask that question. And it's like, if they're bringing in a like animation, like showrunner, like that is very much like where, they've done the research. But when someone's like Steven Spielberg, it's like, great. Yeah, we all want to work with Steven Spielberg, but like, who is someone like we can like in a room be like, we have to bring, talent to the show. Who is someone we can get? You're looking for someone who knows the inside a little bit. And you don't need to be inside the industry to know who these people are.
That's so great. That's a great button on that too, because I think people get overwhelmed with that. And that's a great way to get into the industry in terms of knowing it is just, I mean, Patrick's a researcher, he's always 2 degrees of knowing who's working with whom. I mean, he's great at that, which has helped us get into doors. I mean, that does make a difference.
Which has helped us randomly email an executive and kind of say, well, I was given your info and I'm working on a project with Ed Asner and Marion Ross. Well, I was given your info by IMDb. They don't know that, but but it's interesting because it is, I'll age myself a little bit, but it is different. We didn't have IMDb. We didn't have,
you know who wrote that Scooby-Doo episode.
No, but what I would do is I would watch the credits. I would actually sit and, figure out who directed this episode of, the Mary Tyler Moore Show back on whatever it is. But also back when I first moved to LA, you had an industry book. They actually had a physical book that had it all listed in there where, the different studios, the different people and everything. And I would go through there and make cold calls.
Study.
Yeah.
I want to know, Nate, from a producing standpoint and all these different, things that you utilize, because we talk a lot about creativity and that's what motivates us. And even though some people might see you, oh, he's director of development, that it might not. Oh boy,
There's our spammers aren't coming in.
Spammers are starting to
We're
show
that popular, Nate. We have spammers.
There's spammers. Yay.
Yeah.
You need it when you have spammers.
Yeah, and they're usually filthy. So woohoo, here comes the filth. I want to know creatively. What I was saying is, I want to know then, because you're a creative person, and I feel like as a producer, like that's job number one, is to be creative. I mean, how do you think that you as a creative person helps you be a successful producer? What parts of your brain do you even use, or what? I mean, does that make sense? Kind of.
I mean, I think it takes all elements on both sides of the brain to be creative. I think that there is that general education, that like problem solving, that thinking, that like line producer aspect of knowing like budgets and schedules and like what's in scope and what's reality takes you a long way. And if you don't have that ability, you're not like, excluded from the industry. There are people who specifically focus on that. But I think having general knowledge of that and having that understanding goes a long way when you're having that discussion as someone who's a creative. And it's like, we have a story we're trying to tell. And in this story, I want to go everywhere. I want to go places. I want every single character. I need X, Y, and Z to really make it happen. Well, the reality is that in a budget and a schedule, especially in an animated show, when it's like CG, and it's like, we don't have that many assets to, we don't have an asset count that will allow that. Having that sense of being able to say, okay, how can we tell the story, keep the integrity, and keep it in a way where everyone is satisfied and happy. So creative, like there's like that element of like, yes, you want to make sure you can get away with whatever you want creatively, and telling that story that you love. But I think what really helps make you successful as well is understanding the limitations, know where to push when being told no, and being like, this is why yes. But I think a large aspect to it is just kind of understanding like, we got to make everyone happy. We got to make sure everyone is pleased with this. We've got a lot of champions that we need to gain for this show to be made after the pitch and after we close legal, in development, but then in production, but then also marketed and airing on television. So if you alienate creatively an aspect that's going to make someone say, we're giving up, we don't have it, your show is not going to really be as successful as you would be if you understood holistically what it takes. Did that answer? I feel like
that absolutely answered it. I love it. And the reason that it makes me think of it is because I've seen your creative side. I'm in a writers group, but we've written occasionally together. I've seen you, and I see you find. So what resonated with me is when you talked about the story, knowing how to tell the right story with the assets and the resources that you have, which is left brain meets right brain. And I think that's great. That's so interesting to me. Which takes us to what you're working on now, right, Patrick?
Right. So we have a photo of your new project, and the trailer was released yesterday, right?
Yesterday we went wide with it. Yeah. So
here's. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, what I can say is what, if anyone Googled and researched it, because we still have things that we're releasing and holding for a different press release. But this is Big Nate, one of the first properties that I was a part of bringing into Nickelodeon. It's based off of the extremely successful book series Big Nate by Lincoln Peirce. It's been on the New York Times bestseller for over 100 weeks. It is as someone who's named Nate and would like to think myself as a little troublemaker anti-hero, it's a story that's resonated with me for a long time. And so, joining Nickelodeon, and when I came in a little over 3 years ago, in development, the position that I basically was owning and controlling was books to series and film. And so this is one of those projects where it was like, oh my God, this is of course the reason. Like there's so many reasons why this is the right property for Nickelodeon. I was in New York. And my boss Ramsey she and I were talking about this, and she's like, I think we're gonna be able to get Big Nate. I need you to like, write up that creative brief. Why is it? And it's like this, like, summary of like all these reasons why. And literally was gonna go see To Kill a Mockingbird in like 20 minutes. So I'm like in my hotel room, and she's like, I'm gonna be in this meeting with, the content, creative, the president of content for Viacom CBS. And it was like, we need this right now. And I was like, oh my God, it's our one chance for one shot. And I was like, but I can't miss Jeff Daniels. So I literally typing as fast as I could and quickly just like explaining my raw emotions and excitement for why, this
oh my gosh.
was fun. And so it was like one of the first properties I think we closed that of our books to series, and rightfully so, our first one that we have greenlit and in our airing. So we've got plenty more, multiple books part of and bringing in, but this one has a special place in my heart. So I was also, in development. Traditional standard entertainment industry is like that your development and then you hand off to a current series executive. Luckily, that's kind of changing, and now you're able to kind of develop and see your project through. And Nickelodeon is gracious and awesome to say, if you're so excited about this project and you want to be a part of it in current series, we're going to allow you to stay on. Also, because we needed help in current series, because like we have so many new projects. So this is one of the shows where it's like I'll just stay on as the EIC, the executive in charge of production, and so. Like pinch myself excitement, like getting able to like actually oversee this through all of its episodes and hopefully a long, successful franchise.
So from the moment that you got the deal to now, how long is that process?
Well, first he had to see To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
So, it was this one closed fairly quickly, actually. A lot of deals can take over a year to close. I know it sounds crazy, but we hear 600 pitches a year, our team or more, and then let's say we bring in 40 for development, and then of that 40, like 2 can get greenlit, the next year. So it's such a process, but sometimes that legal process can also take a year. Each show's different. Big Nate moved quickly. Look, we came into a time at Nickelodeon where we were pulling from this older stagnant, like we weren't producing much content. We were doing new seasons of SpongeBob, which warranted, totally needs to be done, and Loud House, but like we weren't taking chances on new IP. And in a time where cable was going through that transition and you had to be a part of a streamer, the new leadership came in and was like, we have to make stuff. And so we went from nothing happening in development per se. I mean, of course there was a few things, but like to multiple projects and multiple big hits and bringing in big franchises to kind of reinvent the Nickelodeon and kind of saying like, hey, we're here, we're creating new stuff, come creators and show us your things. Big Nate was kind of like that big first franchise to get people excited.
And you, it's running, Denise says she loves To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, we do too. It's going to be on Paramount Plus, correct?
Yes.
So it's a partnership between Nickelodeon as the producing studio. Is that how it works?
So Viacom CBS owns Paramount Plus. They also own Nickelodeon. So what was CBS All Access is now Paramount Plus, and so they are now like saying like all of our content, all of our basically siloed companies. So VH1, MTV, Comedy Central, Paramount Network, Nickelodeon, all kind of have a presence on Paramount Plus. It's kind of like hey, this is where we stream. So you can go to our channels and watch where we linear, and here's where we stream our content. So Nickelodeon has a huge presence on Paramount Plus because that's kind of like our new digital home. But what we are as a studio and a network feeds both lines. So premiering on Paramount Plus, definitely to get those subscribers. We want the world who knows Big Nate to say we want to watch the show. Let's go subscribe to Paramount Plus. But then it will also be a part of Nickelodeon. So at some point, then it will go and be a part of the Nickelodeon channel as well.
So
that's where I Love Lucy is now, is Paramount Plus.
Yay!
Well, there you go. Kevin, yeah, go ahead.
Go, Teresa.
Kevin wants to know if you saw SpongeBob the musical on Broadway.
So unfortunately they closed it at the Palace. It was the Palace, right? And I missed it by like a week. And
wow.
I went to New York for work, and it was like, oh my gosh, like the meetings and everything I had to was like 1 week after they closed. But I did get to see a recording, and which is not the same thing. I tried seeing it in Los Angeles, and our whole company was like, "Yay, it's coming to the Dolby. We're so excited for us to support." And then the pandemic hit, and it was like, "All right, no SpongeBob for all of LA." So I will see it live at some point. But all of the actors though have come to our studio and have pitched us content and have been kind of
oh my gosh,
family. So they're all incredible people, and yeah.
I want to know, because oh gosh, we're moving so quickly.
I know.
I'm curious. I don't know if Patrick knows this about your job, or maybe I told him. You were sharing with me about the book fair that you go to in Italy. I'm so fascinated about that. Can you share a little bit about that piece of your job? It just sounds fascinating.
The best part of my job? No, there's multiple reasons why I love my job, but one of them, traveling for book fairs. Bologna Book Fair is like the largest book fair where publishers will go and meet with other international territories. And so someone who's got a great book, this is traditionally how it started. They got a great book, they would go there and they'd be like, all right, it's at HarperCollins US, but who's going to publish it in Poland? Who's going to have it in Russia? Who's going to have it in Egypt? So you go to these places to go and say, hey, this is what we've got coming up, and who wants it, because we believe in this property. Years ago, then all of a sudden it was like that, film exec was like, well, I want to go there and find out before the trades what books are being sold and who has it, because then I want to go option it for TV. So now Hollywood totally has a presence there, and where we come in and sit with these agents and we're like, pitch us the books that are coming out next year, the year after, the year after, the year after that, and then we can get kind of like that first look before it jumps up on Publishers Weekly or New York Times bestseller, and we can think, oh, we've already read it. So it's like, I've got like my stack of books over here. That is just like that sense of like publishers, authors, agents being like, hey, this is coming up. This is a galley that's 2 years out, a year out. Take a look and see if it's right for Nickelodeon.
Wow.
It doesn't get worse. I mean, like it's like just being there in Italy and eating all the pasta out of like these giant cheese wheels with like other people that you totally admire and look up to that in the industry. It doesn't get better than that.
It sounds a little bit like Kids Screen Summit that we went to.
It's Kids Screen, it's MidKnights, it's everything. Exactly. It's the same sort of idea, but geared towards books, and Hollywood being like, okay, we want to find those books that we can turn into those big blockbuster movies, or that great mini series, or that really incredible, funny, long-lasting animated show. That's where you go.
That's so great. Do you have anything else, Teresa? Because I kind of have one last thing that I'm thinking about.
Well, I just wonder how creativity plays itself out in your personal life. Do you still write?
I still write. I'll be honest. Like it's it's such a busy time in just life where it's like this. Like it's like I'm like not responding to these writers group emails of like if I can attend, because I like get sick of being like I can't make it. But I try my hardest in my downtime of like what I can do. A piece of advice that a professor at Columbia gave me was like, in your phone, in your notes, have that long list of ideas and things that spark in your brain and you want to see through. So like I have a long running list of situations that I've seen or in my mind. I'll be like, oh, this is so crazy and it's like, oh, that'd be a great book, or oh, that'd be a great pilot. That would be a great engine for a series. So you write that in there, and every once in a while I'll open that and I'll like look back at. I mean, this list is like 12 years old, and like seeing things that like I thought were hilarious and amazing at the time and totally not anymore, or maybe they still are, and then pulling that out and then being like, what's an outline for that? How can I go out there and just exercise my brain and have fun, kind of just seeing like all these cool ideas. I think they're cool. These ideas that you've come up with in the past, and just kind of like seeing what it could be like. And yeah, right now, like it's in a sense that when you're an exec at a studio, there's so many like rules of being like, you can't go create your own content right now because then it's owned by Viacom CBS. So it's like you have to be like careful of being like working on the stuff that you're going to be making here now, and what stuff you can kind of keep in the back of your head for like different opportunities.
Great. Thank you.
That's great. Was that Fred?
No, there's
did you say?
a weird reverb, but go ahead, ask your question, and then we'll.
It was very similar to Teresa's, just work-life balance. I mean, it's like you got a huge position now, and you also have a life, and just how do you manage that? And that you are 20 minutes away from going to see To Kill a Mockingbird and making a decision. Work, creativity, joy, it's like, how do you balance that?
How do you do it? I mean, it's that sense of like understanding what's important for you and in that moment. Like it's your career, if you're lucky, it's a part of your life and you're excited and you love to offer what you can, but you have to unwind and you have to just go and like be with friends and family. Like Harry, he's very much, his family lives in LA, so we are always with them, which is awesome and great because you have that ability to completely unwind and focus with people who you love and you want to be with. Luckily, his parents live in like this like dead zone of service. So like when I'm there, I never get a phone call or a text that I can like be distracted by, which is great. But at the same time, then all of a sudden you like go down the hill and you're like, oh, well, all these emails, all these things. But having that sense of like that support and those friends that are like, hey, let's go and do stuff. We live in Los Angeles. There's so much to offer that it is that sense of whether you're going, to Santa Barbara for a day, or out in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, or just going for a hike, what have you, like having that sense of like, you're going to be stronger at work if you take that to walk away from work and focus on your friends and family.
Yes. It's one of the things that I always talk to people about in my class that I facilitate, The Artist Way. And there's a workaholism quiz that you take, which is really fascinating for people. And so many people don't have that work-life balance. It's either almost like one thing or the other. And so I love hearing that you're saying, let's go take a hike, and that helps your work. And what did Fred say here?
He just says was what Fred. I'll talk to him later. He's like, what? Denise says, great to hear this tonight. Such insight. Thank you all so much. I think we're ending our time here. We're almost at 5. That's crazy. Denise clearly was Patrick's Artist Way. Good for you. It is a good project for class for anybody that's interested. Nate.
Yay, this was awesome.
We're so glad you kicked off our 2022. I feel like that's a good omen to have you with us on our.
Oh, thank you. And you guys have like quite the lineup, like Lisa Buckley, like my love. It's like the like bright shining star of Come On Over and
oh my gosh.
And Edge she's brilliant. She's amazing.
And she's doing all kinds of like really like she's not in children's television anymore, but she's doing puppetry work in like Africa, and it'll be really interesting to chat with her about her work.
And then Quayle, who we all love, and so what a lineup. I'm glad I could be a part of that.
Isn't it so nice that we created such strong bonding relationships that we all still connect, and we don't see each other or talk to each other that much, but at least it's like when you come together, it's like, yay, we did good. We did good.
Yeah. So. I mean, you guys like hats off to you. You guys put together an incredible crew and experience with Come On Over. It was like the most special treat. And if you could ever bring it back, please do. Right. But like that, there was like that magic. Every single person who worked on that crew, and just like how much fun and support we had with each other. Those the best summers in Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that was going to be one of my goals for this summer, is that the three of us have a drink at Butch's together. So 2020, no COVID stuff, so we can do that.
There we go. I love it.
All right, Nathan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. We'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Oh, yay. What a gem. It's so fun to see our little Nathan all grown up.
I know. It just brought back such memories of him being in that production room and hanging out with Lisa Buckley, and just.
And Sam's still with us.
Oh, Sam! Yay!
Yeah, we were so lucky to have Sam and Nate as part of that team, for sure.
They were great.
So this will be a little old home week. We are chatting with Lisa Buckley next week. We are going to close out the month with Kweli Chanda. We'll have relationship creatives coming in February. So we are still lining people up. We'll be here as long as you're here. And we appreciate you joining in the conversation with us.
Yeah.
And
Happy 2022.
Happy 2022. Stay healthy, stay well, keep the masks on. And
on that note,
and the arms boosted, and take care of yourself.
Gotta go. Bye, everybody.
Gotta go.